Hello, this time I'm going to talk about the integrative model in Chapter 8. For this one, the prompt is, how would you explain the integrative model that could be used with the student teacher in the content area and grade level you would like to teach? Try to anticipate the questions that a student teacher would have about the model. In this one, imagine that you are the master teacher, that you are the experienced teacher, and that there's a new student teacher or ACP person who you are going to mentor. They don't know about the integrative model yet, and you're going to explain it to them and how they can incorporate it in their class discussion with the students. And that's what you would use it for here. So you're going to tell them what it is and also how they can use it in the content area and grade level you would like to teach. The textbook gives a scenario from an elementary school, a scenario from a middle school, a lesson plan, a couple of lesson plans, and so you get a pretty good idea through looking at these practical examples. Try to anticipate the questions that a student teacher would have about the model. They might be confused about something. You might be confused about something as you first hear this and before you read the chapter. And then as you read the chapter, maybe some of the confusions from what I'm telling you will be answered, and so you can talk about those things. Make sure that you're using academic references. No ERIC. Sometimes those are dissertations, sometimes they're student papers. If they are ERIC, make sure you label them as such. Beware of textbooks. The Kuchek and Egan team who has written some textbooks, maybe that one that you've used in the past, they also have done articles. They have done journal articles. I would prefer that if you're going to use them at all in this model, that you would use a journal article. Okay, let's go and talk briefly about the integrative model. Okay, the integrative model, generalizing from data. And that's what you're basically doing. And so the basis of the integrative model, again, is constructivism. It's inductive in that you gather information that you can present to the students, more like a database or a set of data, bunch of information, and then you're going to be discussing that information and drawing conclusions. So the steps in the integrative model, you plan for the integrative model, you look at your state standards, the TEKS for your content area grade level, you find an issue or something they should be learning. This works well with almost any content area. And then you plan that and you will make handouts. You might make a PowerPoint presentation. You might have data sets that you can give to the students on paper or with groups of students. Or if they have ebooks or tablets, then you might be able to upload the information to a tablet that it can be made readily available to them. Okay, while you're talking with the students, you're going to model and work with the students in taking that data that you provided for them, not just numerical data, but information data as well. As described in the textbook, they have several data sets that they present. You're going to describe, compare, and search for patterns in the data set. And you're the adult in the room, you're experienced, you're going to guide them to this. But you're not just going to tell it to them. You're going to give an example, and then you're going to ask them, and as much as possible, you ask your students to come up with what comes next and what do we do next, and have them come up with have them describe, compare, and search for patterns in the data set. You don't just tell them this is how we describe, this is how we compare, this is how we search for patterns, and this is the conclusion. The teacher needs to step back and let the students do this on their own. So step 3 is explain the identified similarities and differences. Now, that doesn't mean that the teacher is explaining the identified similarities and differences. Hopefully the students are explaining the identified similarities and differences. And so get this idea in your mind that you're not going to be the main event, that the students, you're going to facilitate the students to come up with these. And your success, when your principal comes to evaluate you, the success is what your students are doing not what you, the teacher, are doing. In fact, I was told that when you go and you observe a student teacher, you almost spend more time looking at what the students are doing and how they're contributing more than you look at the teacher. And if you're going to get in trouble during your observation, it's going to be because the students were all sitting there passive, not doing anything. And if you did ask them a question, they didn't know what to do because they were confused from all the things that you told them, or maybe they got lost or something like that. So they're looking at the students. Are they paying attention? Are they engaged? Are they contributing to the lesson? So then step 4 is hypothesize what would happen under different conditions. And you're the teacher, you're the one who is going to give those different conditions. And then you're going to let the students go and hypothesize. You're not going to take the lead and hypothesize on that. You're going to, as much as possible, let the students, and not always the same student. You have your 2, 3, 4 students who are always raising their hand, always wanting to contribute. You're going to let your students who are average students and those who are maybe struggling even, giving them a chance to hypothesize. You need to spread it around throughout the class. That's harder. It takes more time. That's something you have to do. And then as a class, hopefully the students taking the lead, but you guiding them. Okay, you're going to make broad generalizations about the topic and the discussion. Now, evaluating learning integrative model is there going to be a lot of formative assessment, and they have that page that talks about what the teacher is doing, what the student is doing. Of course, there's going to be formative assessment as you're going along. You're going to adjust your teaching and your presentation as students show lack of understanding or unable to go to the next step. And then at some point, you're going to have them write or say, depending on the grade level, come to some conclusions and be able to write it down. And so this is going to be something that hopefully they can do as a group, as a class, maybe small groups, and even individually. They can do this because you have to have all students participating and going through this process, not just following the group, but individuals as well need to be able to do this as well. And you'll figure out how to do that as you know your class and look at some of the things on that list on what students can do by themselves that would support the topic and the data that you use to find those similarities, differences, and generalizations that you found with the group. If you have any questions, please give me a call.